Good day, everybody! This is BA Radiant Dawn, and we're back with a video that's a little different from anything that I normally do. So today we're covering Summoner Duels, and specifically Summoner Duels S. And along for the ride, I brought my good buddy. You've seen him on my channel before. I brought DTM-Feh.
Hello everyone, I'm DTM as always, and yeah, thank you so much BA Radiant Dawn for inviting me to do this. Yeah, super excited about going over Summoner's Duels S, and yeah, hopefully this will be a really good video.
I'm sure it will be, at the very least. I hope it's going to be like educational, helpful, or something of the like.
For sure. So yeah, what are we planning to do today?
So it was last round you placed like rank 1, right?
Yeah, the last SDS run we had, which I think was like a week ago,
yeah,
or something like that. Yeah, I managed to like climb my way back to rank 1 after completely failing the previous time. So that was obviously a super relief.
I'm just gonna like show it on the screen here. Top players.
Well, there's a bunch of top players.
Oh, there is a bunch of top players.
Yeah, SDS, a lot of people are able to reach rank 1. I think, I actually checked, and I think there was around 185 players that managed to reach rank 1 this last rotation. So I think you have to like go to like, hey, there's Pheology. Yeah, you probably have to go to the friends.
Yeah. It's wow, Oblivion, Pheology, and you all time. That's crazy.
Oh shoot, I that rank 1 Brave Lucina, I think I fought them for my last match. I think very base taste, if I do say so myself.
That is pretty good. I respect this. So yeah, DTM knows this mode pretty damn well, I'd say. So we're gonna talk about the mode a little bit, kind of do an interview / help me figure out teams a little bit better.
Yeah, and always glad to, I guess, try to share some insight.
So, I'm gonna kind of kick us off here. So, I have how I approach team building for this game mode, right? Is like, it's not just throw toxic units in there and have fun. It's more so like my main character, my favorite character in the entire game of Feh and in all of Fire Emblem in general is Happy, and I have multiple builds for her. So how I formulate teams, at least, well, I guess not for this mode, but for normal Summoner Duels or anything like that, is like basically I pick my favorite and then I build a team that expands upon what they do. I cover each other's weaknesses. I make a team that makes them better than they already are. So like, for example, for my main Summoner's Duels team, my thought process was not just, I could go burr, but it's, how can I make Happy better as a whole? And like, what does Happy do? She's a Cav, so she's got crazy good range. She deletes dragons and beasts off the face of the planet Earth with 0 difficulty, almost. It's great. I think the only thing she cannot take down was an Ascended Idun, distant defense 4, +10, like fully merged, full flowers, and I think she does not one-shot with Astra by like 1 HP or something. Or it's like a perfect kill.
Did I Ascended Idun have like deflect magic? Or anything like that? Whoa.
I slapped my... Here, let me put it this way. I slapped my Idun in there, and I can actually show you this. Because I actually did a trial run in Ether Raids on this, because I was like, what can I do?
Yeah,
this is the
Party Fighter deflect magic, and your Happy was able to beat that.
She was able to one-shot with 8 damage to spare.
Wow. Yeah, Happy is definitely super good.
Although she didn't
especially with all the dragons.
I can't give her too much credit. She did have a little bit of help, but she still one shot without so.
You hardy fighter. Like that is 75% damage reduction.
Oh, I know.
Right.
Astra Happy is crazy. So I'll kind of show you what I did. It's actually it's in my current team. So what I did was I did a funny combo with everyone's favorite boy duo Chrom, right?
Right. And that goes with back to what you're saying about like trying to make Happy better and support her, right?
Basically, yeah. So like duo Chrom's duo skill is basically a unity, right?
Right.
Well, how about double unity Happy?
Okay, I see you.
That's how she was able to do it. And that's how she was able to eat through that, is because I'm like, she just barely is missing the kill. Duo skill? Then I'm like, oh, that works. So like,
yeah.
For how I built this team was like, I made a lot of combo pieces that just make this team absolutely crazy. Like, I'm actually going to be, I've actually tweaked my duo Dogger. I've given her attack speed catch and attack defense menace to make her hit a little bit harder, and this way now she won't have any self damage, right?
Right.
And so like, back to Happy for a quick second. So like, Happy is a cav, great movement, can nuke stuff. She's good at one-shotting. So how can I make that better? Give her more movement. Give her more movement.
Right.
So she can run up. And one thing that I find when it comes to Ascended Idones, I don't typically have a problem with them, because Happy gets so much range. If I see one on the map, usually there's an enemy in range, and then Ascended Idone flies in and gets one shot because they don't even have the special proc yet.
Right.
Because I just go right in there. Yeah. So like that's, and then like, okay, so I like Happy's good here, and Dogger can basically power an entire team, make any team 20 times better.
Right.
Sigurd can basically do the same thing by giving everyone movement, and him and duo Dogger are absolutely backcrap crazy.
Right.
Because everyone gets a movement, which means Kanto plus Pathfinder plus extra movement plus 4 movement Happy is just nuts.
Right.
And then like duo Chrom, his duo skill basically gives a unity and debuffs. So
and
why not have
pre-charging special? Too. Yeah.
And why not have 2 units with unity to just plus even harder? Let me tell you, if I have duo Chrom activated, this Dimitri does not die easy. Because he will have Vital Astra, he will have attack speed unity on top of everything he already has. So like, no one's faster than this boy. I think I clocked him in at over 80 speed. Like, he's kind of a monster. I love it.
Yeah.
So like, this team took me a little bit of formatting, because like my previous team was basically just this team here, but instead of Angry Child here, it was Happy. And that was basically my team before duo Dogger, before duo Chrom.
Right.
So like, I kind of adapted it and made it better as I went on, but I still have the backup just for fun, because this team was also pretty fun to play.
Yeah, and I assume like you have like a far save unit if like we're on rotations without erosion, right? Or do you generally just...
I'm pure... With this team, I am pure offense.
Okay.
There is no defensive maneuvering other than Kantoing properly. That is it. Like, okay, actually, that's a lie. Come at me. He will sit on a fort and tank.
Right. So, how I approach team building is, in general, I see like Summer's Duels games revolve around, I guess you could say, 3 different types of modes. Or like patterns, I guess you could call them. And I have talked with I think you and a couple other people as well about this. But I mean, one common mode is raid boss strategies, right? Where you basically all in support one unit to be able to tank anything your opponent gets you, right? There's a mode that I like to call pick base, where the theme around that is you're trying to defensively posture until you can find an opening to get a pick on your enemy team and then try to retreat back to a safe position.
That's kind of what this team kind of set up for. It's meant to have like, I'm going to replace Brave Ike because I have a very funny unit to replace him in mind, but I don't have that one yet. And then I got Kid Ike, right? So like, and then as backup, damage reduction on top of damage reduction, and of course Ascended Idun there just to be the far save monster and just absorb any range stuff. So basically, and the funny thing is I did obstruct on both of them. So like, you have to fight them before you even get to anything else in the back. And if you try to magic your way through, you won't. And if you try to like run up a melee, it's not going to be an easy task. You're dealing with Brave Ike and Kid Ike.
Yeah, and I think that's like a more of a raid boss mode sort of thing, since like you don't really have a lot of units that can like nuke and then retreat. And obviously your happy team will be like this third type of mode that I'm thinking about, which is like rush down, which is super offensive. Oh yeah. And you just want to overly dominate your opponent. And so when thinking about teams, obviously these are very flexible and there's a lot of overlap, but you ideally have a team that like in general wants to operate in one of those themes and build around that and support that. And if you can have a team that can do multiple, that's even better. And honestly, in practice, most teams do have a lot of overlap in terms of their themes. Like, most pick-based teams can transition into a more rush-down strategy once, say, like, they just kill off the enemy unit and it just all falls apart for the enemy. And so when thinking about designing a team, you need to think about units that can help enable that sort of theme that you're trying to get. And so, at least if we're going to start talking about these sort of team comps, I personally don't see Dimitri really contributing towards that theme of like trying to rush down the opponent. He does provide a good offensive line, and so if you do think he is valuable that way to like transition your team to stop like other enemies like rushing down towards you, then that is perfectly fine. I don't really know how he works well in practice with this team, since you do have more experience with that. But that is just something to keep in mind, I would say.
Yeah, like, each of these teams has initially had some kind of thought process, theme, idea in mind. Like, the bottom one, like I said, is just I go Burr, and how I feel Dimitri fits in is that, like, people, like, I will rush in, bop, and because of Pathfinder plus the extra movement from Sigurd, people can just like canto back and like hide behind Dimitri, basically. So Dimitri is like the wall that's protecting whoever is missing out on the rush forward. Plus like Duocrom will charge up Dimitri as well. So it's like basically turn 1, Sigurd's the man. Turn 2, Dimitri tank. So I go straight from hyper offense to more defensive playing immediately the following turn. So it's kind of like a push and pull dynamic kind of idea. Yeah, and that's what like we're talking about, right? Like every unit needs to have a role in how they help the team function. And so if you can find like the type of units that can do that, and like when playing Summoner's Duels, like if you notice like some weaknesses in your team, what units can help overcome that? Like maybe that's one thing that I was gonna talk about when it comes to the bottom team. I have no problem saying is my strongest team, 100%.
Okay.
And mainly the reason why I say that is because in terms of any far save unit, whether erosion's on or not, my main team here has an answer to every single far save in the game with no problem at all. So like we have Happy for the Dragon / Beast far save, so Fallen Edelgard, Fallen Rhea, Ascended Idun, any of them. So Halloween
Myr as well.
So she has them completely on lock, because she can handle
Right.
all of them no problem. If she can't handle them, like let's say it's Ascended Fjorm, Valentine's Lucina, I have Duo Chrom, who one-shots and deletes them as well.
Right.
And we're still missing a color. We're missing blue, aka Brave Hector. Duo Dogger can take him down with a little bit of difficulty sometimes, but sometimes I have to use a combo of her and Happy. Sometimes just Duo Dogger straight up destroys.
Right.
But especially with the new build I have in mind, that's going to be even easier to accomplish now.
Okay.
So, like, every one of the far range units I have is there specifically not just to be an absolute monster of a unit, because they are. All of them are pretty dang good units in their own rights.
Right.
They not only power the team, but they're also there for the specific purpose of taking down a specific far save unit, and then clearing the way for everyone else to just destroy. Right.
And obviously that's like another part of like team building is like considering those meta threats, like those far savers as you mentioned. Yeah, and especially on a team without any far save unit of your own, you need to be sure that you are able to take out as many far save units of the enemy as much as possible, because otherwise you can become very vulnerable. If like a far save could just protect all their units and can just pick off your units one by one. So it's really good that, you know, from Happy to Dagger to Chrom, you basically have a lot of those already covered.
I have pretty much all of them covered, except for, like, the only one I really don't have covered is, like, the Valentine's Robin that's, like, an armor tome. That one's a little... Oh, no. Chrom.
Wait,
never mind.
Chrom should be able to take that out, right?
I don't run into too many of them, so I forgot that Chrom can delete them, too. And I'm like, oh, right. Chrom, never mind. So, yeah, like, there's no issue there. Like, not only do this team work well together, one thing that I find in terms of building a team, not for just Summoner's Duels S, but Summoner Duels in general, is to cover your own weaknesses as much as possible. Like, if I just had Happy and no one else, Brave Hectors will kill me, Ascended Fjorms, all of that. So, like, I formulated this team with everything in mind in terms of far savers, and if it's a near save user instead, then I have lots of ranged options to take them out anyway. So it doesn't really matter too much if they're far or near. I have answers to both with this entire getup right here. I will note that there's a few units in the game that I just flop against. I cannot do anything. Actually, I can beat them, but I have to like throw everything I have. And a good example of this is Spring Maria. Spring Maria is, in my opinion, the most toxic unit in this game mode by far.
Really?
She's the biggest threat to me, personally, anyway.
Okay.
But, like, basically what happens is they'll shove her, and then they'll smite her, and then I just sit there, and I can't do anything. I managed to kill one, and only because I literally used up every single unit movement to attack her in order to take her down. It took 5 units to kill one, and one of mine died.
Oh, man.
It was brutal. So I actually do not have too much of an answer for that. If I remember correctly, how I managed to take her down was I had to do the Duo Chrom Duo skill, Happy run and hit. I had to use... It was basically a combination of... I think I might be able to do it with Happy, Dimitri, and Chrom combined. Because my Dimitri got faster than her, so I got the damage reduction. My Happy... The Spring Maria's only real weakness is magic attacks, and Happy is kind of a tactical nuke. So that helps. And then, like, it was nasty. I had to proc Vital Astra, and she lived through that, and then she heals, too, and I'm like, oh my god, this is just terrible. I feel with different captain skills, that my task of killing her will be a lot easier. Mainly because the one... What is the captain skill that I have in mind? The one that quickens my special, starting on turn
Secret
2.
Maneuver?
Yeah, Secret Maneuver, I feel, is going to be really handy when it comes to this team, specifically against Spring Maria, because I will be able to run harder hitting specials than I am right now. Like, Happy's only running, like, Glimmer right now, because I can't charge up fast enough, and Duo Chrom's being used on different things.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, I actually recommend Moonbow instead of Glimmer, to be perfectly honest. Just as a simple skill change. But yeah, honestly, at least for me, like, when it comes to Spring Maria, I personally don't really have much of a problem with her since I do run Brave Olm, who just generally is able to take out Spring Marias with ease, or at the very least be able to chunk her down, and thanks to his wind sweep effect, like take no damage afterwards. Which, I mean, I see Spring Olm in your, I mean, not Spring, Brave Olm in your barracks. I don't know if you want to replace like Dimitri with him or not, because Dimitri does act as that front line, whereas Olm, although he can be bulky, I don't think he's generally thought of as a frontline unit. Oh, that's an interesting team there.
This is my secondary team for Summoner's Duel S. The second.
I see.
This is my old A team before all this craziness happened.
Right.
The main issue I'd have with putting like Brave Olm in the main team is because then I'd have 3 reds.
Right.
1 green, 1 blue. And I like to keep as much of a balance as possible. I don't mind a little bit of an imbalance. Like I got 2 reds, 2 blues, 1 green. But like 3 reds just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, and that's in general I do agree with that. That you should probably I'm just saying, like, at least for me, like how I dealt with Spring Maria was at least with my main team Brave Olm. I believe like also Legendary Nanas as well can do that as well. Although I don't think I mean, I think it's between Brave Olm and Legendary Nana. That's probably the reason why you generally don't see a lot of Spring Marias these days. But yeah, in terms of like your third team, I assume the idea with it is just Yuri does Yuri stuff with Flash of Steel. Right? You go in, you take someone out, and you try to retreat far back as possible. And I assume like either Ashe is probably the front line, right?
My Ashe is my tank.
Right.
She gets up to like 60 defense or something, and it's just I've had Valentian Palas
build too.
So one funny story I have when it comes to this Ashe, the reason why I love this build so much is because I've literally had a Valentian Pala and Ashe, and that's it on the field. Like it was the enemy's Valentian Pala versus my Ashe, and they did like a hit. They tried to do a hit and run. They did nothing, and then they just surrendered afterwards.
Yeah, Ashe is super tanky.
Oh yeah, I love it. So she's like basically, I don't really use her for much for combat. She's more so like the beacon, so I can like fly in, hit, run, fly in, hit, run, and then like I know Crom's probably an interesting choice for this team, but there's actually a funny reason why Crom is in here. It's to actually kind of mimic this. Like I said, I was able to do so back before Duo Dogger, back before Duo Crom. I had a team where I could it was basically the exact same idea, where I could I could have either Alm or Sigurd fly straight into the enemy starting zone turn 1.
Right.
And I was able to do it with this team and not just this one. So I could have 2 teams where I have hyper offense basically. Right.
Although from what you've described, like your playstyle with this before, like run in, hit something, and run back out, right? I assume like Ashe will be like slowly and steadily advancing forward.
Oh yeah.
Especially with her tankiness, like the enemy will have a very tough time being able to deal with her, and so you can either warp in Yuri or warp in Alm or warp in Eitri or Crom, and then especially with like Yuri or Eitri, be able to cancel back into a safe position.
Yeah.
And so with this, you can like pick off like vulnerable or high value targets of your enemy and just do that sort of like pick based mode, as I mentioned before.
Yeah. Like the issue with this team is like how I play it completely depends on technically not necessarily the map, but the formation of your team. Because like if they're super spread out, this team just flops. Like how I would normally play it. Because like typically what I do is let me actually just see here. Check map. Yeah, this map is actually pretty solid for this. So, like, I'd have her in the middle, and then I'd have Crom able to, like, teleport, kind of, like, fly in. So, actually, let me read. I'm actually just gonna, like, I'm just gonna do this.
You can... Okay. I was about to say, you can go into, like, practice battles to test it out, but we can go into a real match, too, I guess.
No, this doesn't count towards my 100 matches that I'm doing currently, so I'm fine.
I mean, it's a different team, so...
Yeah, but this is my old team, so it's not really a different team. I'm used to playing this team in the first place, so it's just a matter of, do I remember exactly how I want it to work?
Yeah.
And I think
And you're versus a Japanese Anna fan. Fedison will be very pleased.
I think I've fought them before. Oh, look at that, it's Maria!
It's your nemesis. But don't worry, you have Alm this time. You have Alm this time.
Alm's built right.
It's decent.
Okay, so...
I mean, it's basically how I build my Alms.
So basically how I throw this team kind of together is I go like this, I'll go in with Yuri, I'll foul play Alm, and then I'll Kanto there.
Very nice. Ooh, they have a Lilith, too. I wish I had a Lilith.
So right off the... Oh god, who's the... Oh gods! Okay.
Yeah, okay, Lilith is as supporting Maria.
That's not a problem. That's okay though. I'm not... It took... So a couple of my losses for my 100 battles thing that I'm currently in the midst of doing was mainly like... some of the losses were only because I forgot how Lilith works now. Like this new Lilith. Because I'm like, wait, she just came in from the other side of the map. What the hell? So
yeah,
then,
and it's 2 spaces from your support ally, not 1 this time.
So Alm has already moved 1 space here. Or no, he's moved 3 spaces technically before he even got his action. So I'm going to put Ashe here. I'm going to use Crom, repo in the Alm even closer.
Your plan. Gotta be careful about that Maria. I mean, not Maria. The Sonya, though.
Yeah, I'm just showcasing how this team typically
right.
functions.
Although you should be. Oh, whoa, Anna.
That's okay.
That
I like doing a trade.
It's an interesting maneuver.
Oh.
We're beginning the trades.
Okay. So yeah, this.
I think you could have ended turn there, and just used Yuri to take out Sonya.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that sometimes that's a thing. Like, so one thing that's extremely helpful when it comes to Summoners Duels is exactly knowing how the whole team, like the whole going first thing works. If you have more points, like remaining movements, you'll go first. If you have more,
I wonder.
How do I want to phrase it? Actually, I want to see how does Ashe fare against Maria. I want to find out.
We can always test that out.
I want to find out.
We can bring Ashe in.
Yeah.
Although
I want to see what happens.
Although Sonya, I think Sonya should get danced by Azura now, and then Sonya should. Yep, and then Sonya should go in.
Truly?
I think. But that's an AOE Sonya.
Right, and she has that teleporting. So.
God, that teleporting's annoying.
Consider it.
Well, let's see how it goes.
Do you generally use dancers on your teams? I mean, they aren't necessary.
Yeah.
The
only team I would consider using a dancer on would be my second team. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that was terrible.
All right. This is over.
Can Yuri kill Maria? That's the question.
Yeah, you can test it out, but I'm pretty sure this is over.
I doubt it. But I go first, so it doesn't hurt to try. I doubt he's going to do any damage. Yeah, no. Maybe with the pre-charge special. So yeah. If I wasn't, like, showcasing how my turn 1 typically goes, like, but you saw the theory, right?
Right.
So, like, Yuri foul play in Alm, move Ashe 1 space forward, Crom repo in Alm. Alm now has 3, 5, 8 movement. That's basically the turn 1 process.
Right.
And then after that, instead of Dimitri tanking, I have Ashe tanking, who's actually, in my opinion, a better tank because she has the warp shenanigans too. But she doesn't have as much damage reduction, so it kind of balances out.
I mean, I think the utility of the warping is generally better. That's also why I really like Not as a front line, because Not has that Pathfinder, so you can just extend the range that way, or like pretend like your Corrin is where Not is, as opposed to on the back line.
Yeah.
Obviously, in rotations with erosion, I think a far save would also be really cool here as well, just to protect, like, so that Ashe doesn't have to deal with that AoE, as we just saw, or things like that. And yeah, I think as like a sort of pick-based team, generally, I think obviously you want to move like, sort of have your team move as a unit, and yeah, just go from there, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I am curious. Normally, I see like no follow up on lethality Yuris, not special spiral. Special spirals I generally see on like AOE or Wings of Mercy.
It's not normally Wings of Mercy. I just forgot to swap that out. Wings of Mercy is my.
I mean, no worries. Like
that's my Ether Raids Yuri.
Ah, I see. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Oh wow, you have a lot of skills on your Yuri. You even have lull, speed def.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Lull, speed def has actually been helpful in a few instances.
Oh yeah, for sure. And obviously, there's a trade-off between NFU versus lull, speed def.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, don't worry too much about the close counter. I think that was just like a meme idea. I just wanted to do it. I'm like, you know what? I have extra close counters.
I was about to ask actually.
I wanted to see if I could do like a Vantage, lethality, close counter Yuri just for fun.
Yeah.
But I couldn't quite make it work.
Anyways, yeah.
Speaking of Vantage, team number 2 is pretty self-explanatory for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is, in this spot, I have no idea who to put. I put Brave Marth because he has
also Vantage
technically. Right? But like, I know a lot of people tend to do like Legendary Eliwood.
Eliwood, right?
Because of bonus doubler, and I'm like, I don't know. I have him. I don't tend to use him at all. He's just kind of taking up space.
I mean, I would recommend it. Like, ideally, you want to be able to buff up your attack as much as possible. And so I actually do recommend changing out Brave Marth with Eliwood, because like Brave Marth is not doing anything on that team. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. Like, Brave Marth is not that good in that sort of team, despite also having Vantage. And I think I'd rather recommend the bonus doubler compared to, because like if the enemy can survive Pala, then Pala's basically dead, and so you want to make sure that attack is as high as possible.
Mm-hmm. I do like seeing Brave Marth, and like people will be like, "Oh, that's not as much of an issue," so they might like just not veto this team.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's now also it's like the art of Eliwood, they're like, "Okay, this might be actually a kind of a problem, especially if like there's not many units in the game that have like a built-in hardy bearing kind of idea."
Right.
So like. There's like one hardy bearing that the enemy can use amongst 4 teams. The odds are good that hardy bearing will be vetoed.
Right.
So like the advantage teams, I feel for Summoner Duels S is actually pretty solid, just because the enemy won't be able to do much, because if their one answer gets vetoed, they're just screwed.
Right. Although you also have to keep in mind that it's not just hardy bearing; it's also like wind sweep effects, like Brave Alm, as I mentioned. But yeah, I do agree that especially in SDS, Vantage teams can be very successful. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious what Legendary Lucina is doing there. I really respect the choice. I'm just curious.
Debuff Central. And move people a little bit closer.
That's good enough for me.
So like basically, I came up with this build idea in general back when we found out about the refunds. I was doing a video with Toasty Baruka, right? And I'm like, you know what would be a really crazy idea? Because once we were reading her refunds and what the Future Vision 2 would do, I'm like, what if we just slapped on attack speed menace as well? And then like, it's attack speed and defense -7/6 to speed. And then she just gets everything. And I'm like, you know what? That just sounds completely, absolutely toxic, and I just love it. So I just did it, and there's no real reason for her to be on this team. It's just a matter of like movement shenanigans on a third unit. That's basically, plus with this kit, she could actually deal some damage.
Right. And personally for me, I've honestly found Future Vision from Legendary Lucina to be really effective in being able to minutely position your units in a way that is either like prevents the enemy from having advantageous trades or just protecting like your captain, for example. I don't like Menace is sort of hard to use on her because I don't think you want to have her on the front line. She generally wants to be I mean, like your Vantage units want to be on the front line, right? Because they're the Vantage units, and so it's harder to get the Menace off that way. I mean, I still think it could definitely still work. It's just something you have to consider when you're actually using that. Yeah, because like ideally, like Palette is the one that's going in, not Lucina.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just more so like Lucina is a really powerful archer, and I'm just kind of lacking on those. So anything that flies is pretty much dead.
Right.
That's my.
I genuinely believe that if she actually scored well, she would have been like the second best win legendary, in my personal opinion. No bias.
Oh yeah, like at least with her refine plus the Future Vision 2, she's absolutely insane. Plus access to Deadeye, even though it doesn't really charge at all on her. But
well, I personally run times pulls on mine, so it's easier that way. But yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, like she's pretty solid. Like her stats. Yeah. One other reason why she's actually on this team, I just remembered, she has super low HP. So typically I use her. So like Bernie hits everyone. Right. Lucina is knocked down to 36 HP. Paula can get down like a handful because she's got Ardent Sacrifice, right? So she loses 10, so she goes from 37 to 36 to 26, putting her in advantage range.
Right.
So like Lucina having super low HP is kind of handy for that as well. Like her and Bernie both have low HP. Sita and Paula have a little bit more. Although my Paula has the worst IVs in the game, really.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the logic. Besides just movement shenanigans and bows and Deadeye potentially.
I mean, yeah, Vantage strategies are like a sort of like a sub-variant of like raid boss strategies in that you're like hyper-focusing on that one, or like, in this case, both Sita and Pala, I would assume, and just like steadily advancing forward. And yeah, as long as like they don't have Hardy Bearing or Wind Sweep, you should be good to go. Although Sita obviously is sort of like, it's only like has the advantage against armored and cavalry units, so hopefully you don't see any Yuris.
Yeah. The only issue with having, I think part of the reason why I didn't have Alibud here is because he's going to give bonus doubler to Sita, not Paula. But I think I can tweak that a little bit by like fixing Sita's IVs and then doing something. I don't know. I slapped Defense Res Menace on her because it's funny.
If I remember correctly, Elder V used Legendary Hector for like on his Vantage Pala team. I think to like pre-charge the special, I think. But honestly, like that again, that's just an option. I don't think it's necessarily better. It's just like an option to consider.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I have Legendary Hector too somewhere, but I'd have to give him a lot of stuff.
Okay, in that case, it's probably not worth it.
It's like, what does my Hector even have? I know this is kind of like a side thing, but I'm just curious. I don't even know. Yeah, no, he's got just basic everything, but he's got Austeus Pulse too.
Yeah. I mean, that's really all he needs.
He's kind of a monster in his own right. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I never mind the seals. I did have seals. It's just because it's unlocked, I lost all the seal placements.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's no problem. We get the basic general gist, just on the unit selection.
Yeah. So the top team is the only team of mine that like I'm still unsure of. It's theoretically supposed to work well, but it needs some tweaking for sure. Like it had Brave Ike instead of Medeus. The only reason Medeus is here because bonus unit.
Okay, I see.
But like,
so
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, what is the general idea of this team? Like, how is this team supposed to work?
Okay, so
theory?
I'll show you the original team because I had to kind of tweak it a bit. Okay, so I'll show you the original. Where is he? Him there, and Initially it was Dimitri, and then I swapped it to Legendary Corrin. So basically the idea was double obstruct just to be funny. It was basically a meme team that can work, because it for a while in the lower tiers it actually worked really well because people just got mad and quit. I kid you not.
Perfect.
Like, Corrin had obstruct as a seal, Brave Ike has it as a B slot, and like with Niffle, with Flame, and it originally wasn't Ascended Idun. I had Ascended Fjorm, but then Duocron became a thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I need to change this. So basically the idea is just obstruct, can't touch them. You have to deal with these two first. And basically damage reduction stacking to the maximum. So like, Corrin has Negating Fang, she has Dragon Wall, and she has Speed Res Menace to pump up her res, as well as Distance Stance to pump up her res. So she gets actually a really high res stat. Like, I think she hits, let's see, so 35 there, 40 with the stance, 52 with the Speed Res Menace. That's pretty solid.
Right.
And then like Brave Ike, we know Brave Ike. I gave him Attack Defense Menace because like now I have like double menaces. So like the enemies, because these are the obstruct units as well, they're getting hit with speed, res, attack, and defense -6.
Right.
And then Irvin has the damage reduction shenanigans as well. And then like if they even get damaged, auto recovery just to be annoying. So basically this team's initial thought process was like, how mad can I make people?
Yeah.
And then in the higher tiers, I noticed that like this team just flopped. Like the last time I even tried to run it, it just it did nothing. I lost pretty much every match. Where like the options typically were like the bottom two teams were vetoed, and then it'd be between 1 and 2, and I'd choose 1 just to see if it could work, and then it like never did for last round. And I'm like, okay, I'll change up the team a bit. So I actually have a funny team composition now. I'm just completely throwing away the obstruct idea, even though it's funny. It's a funny meme. That's all it is. So the idea is Kid Ike, because Kid Ike is an absolute monster in his own sense, and like a lot of people see Kid Ike and they just veto him because they hate him.
I guess with Spurn, that makes sense.
Well, like Spurn and like just his duo skill scares people.
Right, because I mean, personally for me, I'm not too scared of Young Ike.
Yeah, me neither.
Since I don't have like Hardy Fighter saves or don't really rely on pre-charge specials, at least for me. I know there's a certain person that super hates Young Ike because it turns off their pre-charged Yuris and I guess do Alphonse. I mean, the problem, I think the main problem with Young Ike is that you need like a lot of merges to allow him to, get through like Brave Erica, for example, or things like that, who is super common. But if you are able to get him merged to a level where he can like win those matchups, he does become like a super powerful frontline in that instance, and can even like shut down like Hardy Fighter saves. Obviously not as important in rotations with erosion, but without erosion, this is definitely one way you can get by those annoying Hardy Fighter saves.
Yeah, for sure. And like what you said about making his survivability a bit better, because like with merges and whatnot, right? Well, Niffle and Flame, stacking damage reduction, and Idun just to back it up as well with the far save. So you'd have to melee a Kid Ike, and even if you're faster than him, you still have to deal with at least double damage reduction. And if you're not faster than him, then it's quadruple, and that's just bad. That's a bad day for anyone. And like duo Crom with lethality, okay. My Idun says hi. You can't really do much there either per se, because like she has the neutralize effective against armor. Duo Croms break their weapons on Iduns, and it's just the most fun thing. Like this, I feel like this team can work but I need a good partner for Kid Ike.
Right.
And who I think... Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go. You finish that thought.
So, who I think I want to grab for this last spot is Spring Maria. Could you imagine...
Your old nemesis.
Could you imagine Spring Maria and Kid Ike on the same team, and you have to kill both of them without range attacks in order to break through this team? Could you imagine Spring Maria with double damage reduction backing her up on top of the damage reduction she already has, and that's true damage reduction?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are dealing her... If you do not have a way to nullify damage reduction, you cannot deal any damage, because she will heal faster than you can kill her.
Yeah.
And if you do manage to, you get to do it again, because I have Flame.
Right.
That is my... I don't think there's a... In my view, like, right now, I'm sure there's a unit that we could put in there, but, like, for the future, because I'm going to pull on her banner, on the Double Special Heroes banner, I'm going to get her, because I have to test this out. Because, like, it's going to be so much fun, and I'm going to make so many people mad, and I'm kind of excited about it. I've been, like, dreaming of this team comp ever since I noticed that she's an absolute monster, and I can't do much about her. And then I'm like, what if I had her on this team? And, like, what if I just wanted to do the double obstruct, and I'll just give Ike, instead of spurn, obstruct, and then, like, double obstruct. And so you'd have to fight them, too, to do anything. It's just, it's nasty.
Well, yes, and so, like, yeah, this team is more, like, I guess, raid bossy, with, like, double raid bosses with, like, Ike and, I guess in the future, Spring Maria, right? Mm-hmm. And none of your enemies, theoretically, should be able to take them down as you steadily encroach. Although, I will say, my brave Alm will take that out to task. Me and you 1v1. Let's see it. No, just kidding.
I mean, I think you faced my Burr team.
Your Burr team?
Yeah, my main team.
Oh yeah, I did face your Burr team. Well, I was just talking about this specific team.
I'd be more than happy to test it out, because like that's still like I mean, Brave Alm might be able to do something, but he'd still, like, even with the wind sweep thing, you're still up against double damage reduction beyond that.
Right.
So it still wouldn't be an easy task.
It definitely won't. I guess the one thing that does, I guess, like, one area that this team, like, might be a little bit weak to is that it doesn't really have any ranged threats. Right? Like, it's all melee. There's, like, not a lot of threat range. So, you're hoping that you can steadily encroach to reach your opponent, and they can't, like, outmaneuver you to, like, say, pick off Niffle or Flame, for instance. Or, like outflank you or something like that. Which, obviously, really depends on the type of map that you have. Mm-hmm. If it's on a map with, like, a good choke point, then I could see this team working out very, very well, and they literally cannot do anything. If it's like a more open map, that might cause some more issues, as teams will probably try to, like, go around Ike and Maria.
Yeah. Like, if need be, like, of course, like I said, I don't have Maria, but, like, I forget, what does Maria come with for, like, an A slot? Do you remember?
I believe she comes with attack, defense, push. Yeah, attack, defense, push.
Because, like,
4.
Ike is...
Which is honestly kind of terrible.
Ike's not a ranged threat, but, like, what I'm thinking is, like, if need be, I could swap out... I could swap out Niffle. But I want to keep Flame, specifically because, also,
healing and damage reduction?
Healing, damage reduction, and she brings Idun with her.
Oh, right, because of the Orders effect.
Rescue.
Oh, Rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, that, they're kind of a dream team there. So, like, if I could get rid of anything, it'd be the Niffle, but I don't know what I would put in place as a range threat kind of idea. Because, like, I've got options. Like, we're looking... What are you thinking of? Like, magic or bows, right?
Probably. Probably magic, since you generally have physical with your melees, right? Mm-hmm. You could probably even, like, use Ninjorin on there, to be perfectly honest.
Ooh, Ninjorin would be pretty fun.
Yeah, like you have like Ike and Maria just like on the top and I guess right in this hypothetical scenario, and then you have like Ninjorin in the middle, and then obviously supported by Flame and Idun to protect them all. And then if as you steadily encroach forward, like if Ninjorin like spies a threat that you can take out, she can go in, take them out, and then retreat back. Especially if like you run into like legendary Nanas, for instance, who can definitely get through those damage reduction. Like if you have that range threat, you can outrange legendary Nana with that ranged Cav threat, so that she, assuming of course there's no far save shenanigans, which in erosion we can assume that, but without that might be a bit more tricky. But yeah, you get the general idea, right?
Okay, so you're thinking give a Ninjorin a try, eh? I
mean, I'm obviously biased because I really like Ninjorin, but
I think they're a solid choice. They can hit and run and pretty solidly.
Yeah, and like in SDS, hopefully you are like banning out like a lot of the common far safe units, or you can just use it in rotations with erosion.
Mm-hmm. Well, basically,
just,
like how I veto teams is I basically look and I'm like, first off, if there's a Spring Maria, screw you. You're not getting her. I refuse to play against her. I never see her in that mode because I always go like, first off, no. And then second, for basically the first team is like, what's the biggest threat? And the second team I veto is like what's the hardest thing for me to go up against amongst the other teams? And whatever has the biggest number of clumped together units, I'm like, okay, bye. Or like sometimes like if there's nothing that's too big of a threat, I'm like, what actually frightens me on these teams? I'm like, this team, nah, I'm fine. I there's no threats here. This team, nah, this is okay. This team, this depending on the seal, this could be a problem. And then like typically I tend to veto anything with Maria, a duo dogger because I typically lose the Burr matchups. That's the one. That's basically one team comp I almost always lose to, even with my best team, is other teams that go Burr.
Right.
And then there's something else that I tend to veto, but it depends. I think sometimes if there's no Maria, but they have like a Vantage team, I'll veto that because if they hit the Hardy Bearing, and I don't have an answer for it, I just lose. So that's typically my go-to for veto.
Yeah. I mean, how I ban is pretty simple. I see Yuri, I ban.
Yep.
And then everything else just depends. Although, I will say, in this rotation, I actually haven't been banning Yuri because with erosion, I feel like it greatly more equalizes the playing fields in terms of range threats because you don't have to worry about hardy fighter far saves anymore. So I don't actually fear Yuri that much since I have other range threats that I can use since he can't be protected by a far save unit anymore.
True.
And so I've been banning things like Ash or like any warping shenanigans, specifically on that last map. Like warping was super powerful and I just did not want to deal with it when playing. Yeah. Will be interesting to see how it does in SDR with the new map though, with erosion. Super excited about that.
Considering the fact that we won't have like, I don't think Spring Maria is returning really quickly. I think it maybe like next month, because I think next month's supposed to be a double Special Heroes banner, isn't it? I think so.
I don't know.
Because I know it's been a while since we've had
one. Double special.
They typically have one every second month, right?
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't one this month, so it has to be next month. If that's the logic.
Yeah, it was in April, so the next one will be in June.
Yeah, so like next month.
Well, next like tomorrow? No, 2 days from now.
Well, yeah, but the banner is not. The banner won't be up until on the current calendar. There's no Double Special Heroes banner on.
Right.
So I'm guessing it'd be like around the 14th or 15th of next month.
Right.
And is she actually due for being on it? I think so.
I think Dagger and Azura are next in line for the Double Special. Just. And then after that, we have like potentially Lucina and Sonya, which is the share that I personally want because I think they work really well together. I want to try out that Valentine's Lucina Miracle build.
Oh, that sounds crazy.
keep hearing about it, and I want to try it, but I just can't because I don't have Sonya.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So for the time being, because if she's not out next month, I still need a unit to fill that spot. With this setup, what unit do you think would actually...
I mean, what units do you have in your barracks?
Let's make this a little bit faster. We're looking for melee, right?
Yeah, melee. I mean, you can always use, like, Brave Ike. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Just, like, slot him in. Just no problem.
I feel as though Legendary Marth could be kind of funny.
Legendary Marth could be good, although you sort of have, like, overlap with Red in that case.
Like, it wouldn't be as bad if, like, Marth was ranged, because, like, then it's... Yeah. But in the front line, I want different types. So, let's cancel out Reds.
Yeah.
Okay. So that leaves us with blue, green, and... Oh, technically colorless dragon as well.
Well, I mean... Yeah, I guess.
So, let's see.
Not could be an option, actually.
Not?
If you can get, like, bonuses on her, she has bonus doubler built in, and so, like, she can get really tanky, especially since she also has damage reduction as well. And obviously Pathfinder isn't exactly as useful, although I guess with Corrin on the team it can be very useful.
True.
Yeah, that could be an option. Yeah. Feh is also an option.
Legendary Feh?
The miracle.
Yeah, that would be really annoying too. Especially with the flame as backup plus healing. That'd be really funny.
And obviously this is SDS. I don't think it would work that well in SDR, but in SDS it could definitely work.
We already mentioned Brave Ike.
There's Silthus. Don't use Silthus. Spring Myr is an option as well, actually.
Yeah, Spring. One thing I was just thinking of is I'm gonna spark for Legendary Myr. She would be pretty
Legendary
good.
Myr is also an option. Yeah.
She'd be pretty good on this team because
Yeah, and you can deny like a lot of the warping effects that the enemy can use to like get around that front line. Those like 2 raid bosses. That could be an option as well.
That's what I was calling.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options, and obviously you can only really know by testing it out. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like Ike, not any unit with damage reduction, and it's generally tanky. If you haven't used Legendary Dimitri, I think having him on that team would have been good as well.
Well, yeah, like I originally had him on that team, and then I'm like, honestly, I like him better in the main team.
That's fair. I am curious how Not would do on that team, but obviously, if it isn't broken, don't fix it.
Well, that's the thing. It's not really broken. It just doesn't really exist as a whole yet. So I'm gonna slap Not in there. She's got attack, speed, menace. That could be fun.
That could be fun.
Double attack, speed, menace on them. Okay.
Or maybe that's a bit duplicated, but I mean, you can always fix those later.
Exactly, but I like the combination between Corrin and the Not, because Not is Pathfinder, but like pop Canta behind Not.
Yeah. And with Ike, you can also like reduce the hardy fighter if you ever run into that as well. And so you can use that to allow Corrin to get through those hardy fighter saves as well. Yeah. It's all coming together.
Honestly, just the fact that like with Not and Ninjoran, I feel like that with the trio of Team 1 now has a lot of toxicity amongst it because it's got a unit that is Pathfinder, it's got Ninjoran, a Sendaidun, and Kid Ike. I think this is gonna get vetoed now.
I mean, that's the goal, right? Like, you want all your teams to be vetoable.
Exactly. Like, although I think my main team will always be vetoed because it's got the most toxic units all thrown into one team. Yeah,
Dual Dagger, Crom,
Sigurd. Dimitri's kind of toxic in his own right. The only thing to look at is like, okay, Happy's kind of weird in this team, but I'm like, man.
Yeah, but it's probably good, probably.
Yeah.
And if they have like Ascendant Idea, they'd probably ban it too. Like, so.
Oh yeah, exactly. And like, I feel like people are still going to be mainly drawn to 3 and 4, mainly because it's just the highest concentration of bullcrap.
Right.
Angry Child, Ash, and Yuri. Duodagger, Chrom, and Sigurd. And then, like, Vantage could be a problem if they forgot to put Hardy Bearing on, or if they don't have Wind Sweep. And then, like, the top one is just now kind of a little more annoying as well, because we've got 3 units that are just monsters and 1 enabling them. Right. So I think this will work.
It could work. Yeah. You can also, like, think, if you're not too scared about, like, your bulk, you can also think about replacing Flame with something else, but obviously that just requires testing. And, I mean, like, obviously...
Yeah, like I said, like, for replacing Niffle, I have no real issue with that, because, like, Niffle's not actually, like... I feel as though if Niffle had Trace skill, that'd be really good.
Yeah.
Like, Repo in Idun, Trace in position. But I can't do that, so, like, this is ultimately better. Plus, like, if I give Corrin Repo, it's basically the same thing, but now I have a ranged nuke as well as a Repo bot.
Right.
So it balances out better.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's been like an hour.
I mean, we talked a lot about like team building and stuff, so hopefully it will
we talked quite a bit about our thought process and how we build teams. Basically, to short form mine, to summarize, my theory is pick a unit and find ways to find a team that not only that both makes them better and expands upon what they can do, and cover each other's weaknesses. That's why I like my main team so much, is because all the range units have a handful of specific things that they could just delete.
Right.
And they cover the other one's weakness. Because, like, even if I swapped out one of them, I would have that many more units that are actually going to cause a problem for me.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And in terms of, like, how I view team building, like, I think I demonstrated during this entire hour, but, like, finding what your team is trying to do and building around that, it could be just, like, obviously supporting one unit to be able to be nuke and just building around covering their weaknesses. It can be like trying to set up like one or a couple units that are basically unkillable and all the supports around that. It can be just like making a good front to back and just posturing to see if you can pick off an enemy and retreat back to the main team. Like, obviously the specifics is super map dependent and captain skill dependent, so I can't exactly go into detail, but I think especially when talking about the first team on this brigade, we sort of like iterated through like different units, how they support each other, and hopefully that was really helpful for everyone watching that latter portion. And it just goes through the thought process of how to build one from scratch.
I think the only thing we didn't we kind of touched on, but kind of did it reverse, is like how would we make how to make teams baitable so then people can use their favorites. And basically my answer to that is throw a whole bunch of obnoxious garbage in the teams you don't want to play, or put a little bit of toxicity in every team. Make them have to think hard about it, and then maybe your team won't get vetoed.
I mean, my advice is, one, don't use Fallen Edelgard. No one is banning Fallen Edelgard anymore.
Nah.
She sucks.
And especially in this mode, anything to do with, like, especially in Summoners Duels, Gale Force is nerfed heavily.
Yeah.
Heavily. Why? It's not like normal where you just, like, breeze through and you get multiple actions in a row. No, we take turns. Even Gale Force, you take turns. That actually kills Gale Force, in my opinion. Gale Force is incredibly nerfed in this game mode.
Right.
Because
don't use Fallen Edelgard as bait. It doesn't work. Trust me. No. I tried. No one's ever banning it, ever. Also, like, Yuri is generally a good bait unit. People generally ban him out, especially if you have other toxic units as well, like with Chrom, for instance, or Duodagger.
Just look at my bottom team. That's the biggest bait on Earth, really.
Yeah. And obviously, like, it also depends sort of on the map, but at least for this one, warping shenanigans also tend to get banned as well. Like Sonya, people just don't want to deal with that, or Lilith, who can teleport from across the map. That's super annoying.
We haven't had Summoners Duels S since Lilith became a thing, have we?
We've had. I mean, Lilith was a thing in Summoners Duels S.
Just not for very long, then.
Yeah, it was just for that one time. I'm very curious about how she does in Summoners Duels R. I think she'll be really good there. As well.
I think she'll be pretty solid. Yeah, like basically, like it depends on what you're trying to do. In terms of maps, one thing that I would like to advise when it comes to making a team is even if you're using calves, you can still find a way to make them work. It's, even on the current map. Like, the current map is kind of obnoxious for calves, typically, right?
Right.
Like, you look at this, and you go, like, forest here, forest here, forest here. That's just, ugh. But, like, I'm actually going to use a records for this. Let's look at this one. So, I've actually unable to replay. Why?
Oh, it's probably because of the update.
Really?
Try that one.
Oh, okay, this one works.
Oh wait, no, that one works. What?
Weird.
Okay, that was weird.
Oh, it's because the other one technically couldn't finish because, like, it... I was... So, when the maintenance happened, I was still in the middle of a game, so it wasn't able to save the game because it was in maintenance. That's why.
I see.
So...
The lore.
You look at this, and you go, like, this map is bad for calves, right? But if you know how to play around it, then it's not that bad.
Right.
Like, right there, I just repoed in Happy using a flyer, which made her jump over that. Now she's pretty much in range of everything.
Yeah, and if you highlight that range of Happy, like, that repoing over the bush is, like, a super good opener for this map. Like, obviously, you just apply that immediate threat, and, yeah, you just go from there.
This is basically when it comes to this map, this is typically what I tend to do. Yeah, that was actually really good timing. Okay, one thing that I've noticed when it comes to... So, this is more so for the viewers, because, like, I'm pretty sure... I don't know if you found this, but I find that a lot of people that use Kid Ike mistime the duo skill. Like, I find a lot of time, but they proc the duo skill before I do the duo crom shenanigan. And I'm like, okay, I'll just do it after. You did nothing. Congrats. Yeah. Like, you got rid of Happy's pre-charge special. You got rid of one special. You could have got rid of 3, but you got rid of 1. Like, that mistiming actually hurts. You got to know how to time your duo skills, time your harmonized skills.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because, like, there are times when I don't just outright open with my proc duo dagger and go. There are times where I, like, I do some other things, make people think that I'm not using it, bait them closer, pop it, and kill them.
Right.
It's all about timing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta be pretty clever.
Right, for sure. That's an interesting maneuver.
What was?
Does Medius survive Happy?
Well, because no pre-charge special, yes, he does.
I mean, I guess that's true.
This is one match that I barely managed to win. I actually lost to this guy twice before.
Okay. I mean, I guess to end it off, we can take a look at this to just see how, like, the map works. But yeah, with the erosion and the captain's skill, hey, very nice. Wait, did I not want to take out leg yarn? I guess that works too.
Oh, that's really surrendered. I took out the leg yarn, they're just like, nope. Because, like, it took me a couple tries to figure out how this person plays, but the sad thing is I have a very bad memory, so I never remember. So it's basically playing them for a first time, and then I'm like, oh, I remember this name, I don't know how they play. But I think this one I played it very, very interestingly, because before what I tried to do was duo dagger instantly rush, and that didn't work. I couldn't reach them, and then I wasted a duo dagger. So this time I didn't proc it, they moved closer, and then I... Yeah, like that repo over the forest is like, if you're running calves on a map like this, doing the repo over the forest is god tier. Or like, like I think I did it, I could do it with, so this team is actually really interesting as well because I could do it with a few different units depending on when I time the duo skill. If I proc the duo skill immediately, Dimitri could repo in Happy because he'll go on the forest and he'll just repo her in. If I do it after, I could use Dogger here, repo in, and then pop, and it's basically the same thing but a little bit tweaked. And being able to have that kind of flexibility in a mode like this is really, really helpful. And I'm talking Summoner's Duels in general, not just S.
Yeah.
But like being able to think on the fly and twist things to how you need them to be, and having units to kind of counterbalance. If Plan A doesn't work, what units can go with Plan B is phenomenal.
For sure. And that's one of the reasons why I like Legendary Lucina so much. Future Vision just provides so much flexibility in like the positioning of the units. And yeah, it's not about like with Erosion, it's not about just going all offense. It's about like taking your time, being flexible and open, trying to bait out your opponents to overextend and punishing that. I found really helpful. And yeah, when building teams, you also have to keep in mind that flexibility as well. And yeah, hopefully, this was helpful.
I think there's only like I had a couple more thoughts pop in my head when it comes to Summoner's Duels. When it comes to like if you run Kanto control, like I actually slapped it on my Duo Crom.
That's a very common recipient.
Yeah, if you have Kanto control, that just means you can bait a little bit better now. Because now before, if you tried to bait a unit, they could just Kanto out of the way. And then it's like the bait was useless. Now they can't Kanto at all, so your baits are 20 times more effective. If you really wanted to, you could do a 1-for-1 trade a lot easier now. You can do, especially on a team specifically like mine, it's like, okay, you can't Kanto. Sigurd will run up, pop you after you like kill Dimitri or whatever. Basically, Dimitri is also a bait unit as well. He's a really tanky bait as well. I use Dimitri for a lot of things. It's just it looks really weird on this team, but I have a lot of purposes for this guy. So like, and don't be afraid to use baits if you have Kanto control, because like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna trade blows. Yeah, but and as long as it's like you keep your fine.
Yeah, and as long as you keep your captain alive and use your captain to like take out your unit, you can gain a point advantage with that as well. And like obviously Kanto control makes that easier, but you can still like do it without Kanto control. You just have to be very careful about how you position your units, so that you still are able to go in and reach, say the Yuri that Kanto back to. It just takes a lot more careful positioning. Yeah. Anything else about Summoner's Duels?
I think I had something else, but I actually can't remember what it is at the moment.
I mean, we've been recording for like what, an hour?
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot else to really cover, because we covered maps, we covered like tactics for the maps, tactics for the skills, team building in general, duo harmonized skill timing. I don't think there's much else. Really, this is like everything about Summoner's Duels, mostly S, but it could still be applied elsewhere.
Yeah, like you can take like the general concepts we talked about and apply them in like SDR.
Oh yeah,
and like
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I'm like, there was one more thing, but I was like, I'm pulling a blank, and it was really, really good too. Give me a minute. I'm gonna cycle through, because maybe doing this will help me remember something. We talked about vetoing teams as well, and like baiting units with when you have Kanto control. Oh right, I remember. Okay, so I'm gonna give people a tip on how to beat me or any team that runs Duo Dagger and it's a complete rush down. The reason why I thought of this is because you actually mentioned it. Overextending. Overextending is the main weakness to a team like this one. You might think it's completely OP, there's like next to no weakness. No, the fact that it's rush down is the weakness. I'm moving my units 9 spaces ahead, and it's only 1 or 2.
Right.
And they can Kanto back 1 space, so I'm basically moving them 8 movement ahead of anyone else. And the issue with that is, they're completely unprotected. So if you force me to overextend, or if I go like just flying in there, and you just the other player just backs away a little bit, the entire duo skill is just wasted at that point because I can't reach you anymore. My purpose is gone. The only thing that gives me is a slight zoning advantage. Right. So like 2 points.
Yeah.
Like,
and, yeah.
On a team like mine, typically my goal is I want to get 1 or 2 units dead turn 1 and zoning. But if I can't get a single unit killed off on the enemy team, I'm stuck out there in the middle of nowhere, or I'm still in the little huddle at the top of my map, not far from where I started. So I either waste a duo skill, or I basically throw away a unit. And there's no in between. Yeah. So like...
Yeah, and...
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I was about to say, like, especially in, like, rotations with erosion, or just in general, like, rushdown teams, like, you have to remember that if you're going to go in, it needs to be a favorable trade, if at all. You have to be willing to have that unit potentially die. So, ideally, the unit you take out would be worth it, at the very least. If you give your opponent a captain kill because you rush in and take out the first unit you can, like, that just gives them the point advantage, and from there it gets so much harder. And so yeah, especially with these aggressive teams, like, overextending is definitely an Achilles heel that I would recommend, like,
kind of taking
like
advantage
avoiding
of, for the enemy, taking advantage
for the enemy, taking advantage of, like, trying to bait things like that. Or
like baiting tactics right now. Baiting tactics as it sits right now is one of the best tactics, especially if you have Kanto control. The enemy cannot run away, so even a rushdown team like mine, I throw Happy in there, she can't get Kanto anymore, and she's stuck. Save armors do solidly well against typically not with the current not with erosion, but like when it's not erosion, save skill users, especially far saves, are supremely valuable versus rushdown teams. Because that basically make, like, I can't move my ranged units that far down. I can move Sigurd that far, I can move maybe Happy that far, but that's it. And typically I'll favor Sigurd. Most rushdown teams favor Sigurd charging in there, because he gets the whole show rolling.
And with the Holy Knight aura.
Exactly, and if the Sigurd cannot kill, he's basically just a sit and duck at that point. Like, I have had moments where, like, I try to rush in, I'm like, oh, I actually cannot get the kill here, I can't even barely even damage this unit, I can't reach anyone else, I just won't go that far. I will just, like, stick in my little huddle because it's safer for me. So, like, when it comes to a rushdown team, one thing that people need to kind of more so, like, understand exactly how they work is that basically rushdown teams are their own weakness.
Right.
Sure, it's oppressive, but if you pick apart or move a specific way, the whole team basically just falls apart a little bit easier for you. Like, that turn 1 is all you need to either take down or lose to a rushdown team. Because if I get a 2-unit advantage over you turn 1, it's not going to be an easy fight. At that point, we're just trading blows, and I have the numbers.
Right.
But if you just move out of the way and, like, maneuver, I can't really do anything. So, like, that's where the duo skills timing comes into play. Instead of proccing at turn 1, instead I could proc at turn 2, and, like, kind of see how the enemy plays, and then play off of that. Yeah, that's what I wanted to remember in terms of, like, the main weakness to rushdown teams is themselves, and sometimes save skills.
And overextension, Yeah,
basically overextending. Well, that's what rushdown teams do, is they overextend. But usually they overextend to such a high degree that they just dominate. That's the thing.
For sure.
Yeah. That's literally everything I can think of off the top of my head. I told people how to beat me, so please, everybody, I am doing 100 matches in Summoners Duels. I'm a third of the way there. I've only lost 12 times out of 42. Come on, guys. I just gave you the recipe to beat me.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you so much for inviting me for this. This was super fun. I know we talked about a lot of things, but I always enjoy talking about Feh, especially Summoners Duels. And
like, I've started to enjoy Summoners Duels a lot more, especially with my main team, because it's just such a crazy team.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
like,
I think. Yeah, same. Like, I actually really like Summoner Duels, even SDR. Like, I understand why some don't like it, but personally for me, I've had a lot of fun, and hopefully what we've talked about helps you all as well. And yeah, always just hit us up if you have any questions about it, I guess.
Yeah, if you want any advice, I do have a server. The link's going to be down in the description below, so hop on in, say hi. I gotta nudge DTM in there, I think. But,
I mean, I mean, I'm in a couple servers. Maybe I don't know if I'm in yours or not.
You're not,
but,
actually.
Oh. That's
I specifically have a group of people called FehTuber pals, and I'm like, why isn't DTM in here? Did I never invite him?
I mean, you never gave me a link, so
yeah.
I don't know what that deal is.
Well, it's in every video. Yeah.
I personally don't have a Discord, but you can always subscribe to my channel.
You could also find either of us in the Summoner Duel section for Pheology's Discord server, which I've also gotten permission to put in the description below. I do this in a few different videos. Whenever I mention Pheology, I'm like, hey, hop in there as well. DTM's in there a lot. I'm in there somewhat often. I used to be in there a lot more, but I work a lot, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely subscribe to DTM. The guy's
Thank
absolutely crazy.
you.
Like... He's rank 1 in Summoner Duels S for a reason. Like, you should probably check him out. I'm just saying. And
thank you so much.
No problem, buddy. We've collabed on a few things before, so I always enjoy having you on board.
Likewise.
Yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, even though it's a bit of a long one, I mean, this is basically Summoner's Duels S for the most part in a nutshell. Everything you use here, everything we talked about could be used in not just Summoner Duels S, but other stuff as well. Yeah, if we missed something and you have a question, put it in the comments. I'm okay with answering questions. Ask me in my Discord. Find us in Pheology. You guys have a lot of options on how to get in touch with us, so that's completely up to you guys now. I've done everything I can. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe to both of us. Just saying. DTM's link is in the description below. And until next time, this is B-Rated on signing off. Bye. See you, everybody.
Bye.